in the trends of LinkedIn. So what's interesting about LinkedIn is maybe 2 or 3 years ago, they felt like they were in a little trouble, right? Like they were kind of maybe on the way out, and they really did a good job of kind of turning the ship. I'm not sure. Yeah.
They definitely did. And like I said earlier, it kind of turned into a Facebook-esque where you are sharing your life. You're being vulnerable there now. And there was like that argument a couple years ago of, is LinkedIn the place for telling about your personal life, or is it the place for business? And people are like, it's for both.
On today's edition of The Claw, I'm joined by Stella Huffman, the social media manager at Liger, and we talk about LinkedIn. If you are in the business-to-business space or you're trying to find people, connect with them, LinkedIn is the place to be. Listen in as Stella shares her 6 tips for making sure that you've optimized your LinkedIn profile. Welcome to The Claw. I'm Eric Holtzclaw, Chief Strategist of Liger Partners, and by popular demand, I am joined by Stella Huffman. She is responsible for our social media team. So she manages the social media team, make sure that all that our great social media content that we're putting out, both for our company and for our customers, is right in line. So she's been you're a regular person.
So. Yeah, I've been really enjoying it. I love being on your podcast.
Yeah, and we're not going to talk about any holidays today. So we're going to talk
curveball.
So there's no holiday emphasis on this one, but we are going to talk about a really important thing. Specifically, this is supposed to be the podcast for C-suite marketing executives. And if you are a C-suite marketing executive and you don't know about LinkedIn, you're probably not a C-suite marketing executive, right? Because that is the B2B platform. Like if you talk about any that we're going to work off of or think about, that's where you need to be. And not just when you're looking for a job.
Yes, I think that's what a lot of people misconstrue with LinkedIn, is not just when you're looking for a job.
LinkedIn is not Indeed.
Yeah, exactly. And I remember when I was looking for a job being like, oh, I need to get on LinkedIn because that's where I need to be. And that was kind of like my first dip into it. And then actually realizing, oh, this is where companies are connecting with other companies, or people are, salespeople are making their connections, or I'm able to share what I've done in my career, or what I'm doing today, or anything personal going on in my life, because I feel like LinkedIn has turned into almost that Facebook aspect of you want to share your personal experiences and being vulnerable. So, LinkedIn, I feel like, is the platform when it comes to connecting, and especially if, like you said, if you are someone in your company who is a decision maker, you definitely want to be on LinkedIn, and you want your profile to be built out completely. I feel like I see some people, they're missing my dad. They're missing my aunt. They don't have a photo. They don't have a headshot. They don't have a header image. And it's like, are you a real person?
Updated.
Yeah, exactly.
You've run into somebody, you're like, that's not you.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah. That was from 20 years ago. Yeah.
Yeah. So in the LinkedIn world, I mean, and what's I see LinkedIn in a different way than people talk about it for jobs, and it is an important place, but it's almost the replacement, and you're not old enough to know this, but there used to be the paper Rolodex that would be on your desk that would have all the business cards you collected and the names of the people. It's an electronic version of that. It's like everyone you've connected with, you should be keeping up with them. And what an easy way. Like back in Rolodex land, you had to make a phone call or send an email or something. And now if you'll just spend some time on LinkedIn, you can keep up. They're all
right there. And I'm laughing right now because I actually, at my old job, worked across from he's 94 now, and he had one of those on his desk, and he would go through them every day and make sure to call all of his friends.
Yes. Back in the day, and I am not that old, but back in the day, if you were in sales and you had a Rolodex and you got fired or you were leaving, you walked out with your Rolodex.
Y'all are not taking any of my contacts.
And guess what? On LinkedIn, you can do that.
Exactly.
You just carry them all throughout your entire career, and you have no idea. Like, we're working with a new company right now, and the reason we're working with them is I went and Googled the skill set we needed, and he's someone I connected with, I think 10 years ago. And his name kept coming up. Like every time I was looking for that skill set, the person I was looking at was connected to him. And I was like, why don't I just call him,
Yeah.
right? Like he's connected to all these people. Maybe he knows something about this. That would be a good thing. And now we're working with him.
Yep. And a lot of these tips that I'm about to share today is the reason why his name kept popping up for you. His profile was built out in a way that anytime you're searching for something specific, he's going to pop up. Because
Well, he did tell me that he was like happy to know his LinkedIn optimization had worked.
Oh, he probably was like, all right, I'm setting this up for success, and someday success is going to come. And there you were, contacting him.
That's like my daughter talks about her future self thanks her for something that she did in the past. Like he was totally in that world, right? Because like it was a Tuesday night. We had a bunch of projects come in that we needed somebody in that skill set. It was basically 11 o'clock at night, and I'm out on LinkedIn just like, who do I know? Who do I know? And we had coffee that Friday, and then we started working on the project the next week. So it's a great example of success. Yeah. So you've got 6 tips, 6 tips for making LinkedIn successful.
Yeah, for optimizing your profile.
Got it. All right.
Yes.
So what is tip number 1?
Tip number 1.
And I really hope all of my profile is like this, but I don't know.
So a little birdie told me that you might take a lot of these tips and put them in your back pocket so you can do them to your profile.
Yeah, you see, but I don't own my profile most of the time. But there we go. We'll go ahead and talk about that. Yeah.
So we will make sure
okay, all right,
to do this
nice,
to your
nice,
profile.
Nice.
So you have your title, and right here I actually brought in so that you can see a couple of these awesome examples.
Oh, okay.
So a lot of people think your title, and my title is this, and I'm trying to think of something creative to change it to, but title, social media manager. Well, LinkedIn allows you to add emojis into your title, and we have started to come across seeing a lot more success with creative titles. So like you can see right here, someone says,
I can explain high tech to my grandma.
Yeah, I can explain high tech to my Gma, to my grandma. And then they also have their essential corporate title in there as well. Jackie, she has emojis. She breaks it down to content director, strategic storyteller. She has her books in there. So she's saying everything that she is. And
I love her. She says, you never knew you were so interesting until you saw my version of your story.
Exactly. So then
you can't typically tell your story very well.
No, you can't. And I've learned a lot of that from Jackie is, someone else can tell your story way better because you're usually not one to brag on yourself or anything.
Well, when you're so close to it, you don't necessarily see that that's like the thing, right?
Exactly. Yeah. You overlook the really cool things that other people probably are like, wow.
Or the tragedy.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. You want to tell people what you do and not just what your position is at the company. So really making your title stand out amongst the others, because that is something that you're going to be seeing first within your name. And that's usually when people see your name, they're going to be looking at your title. What does this person do?
Right.
So you want to tell them what you do and not just I'm picking on myself for this one, social media manager.
Yeah.
So,
what does that mean?
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
Yeah. Well, it's like I saw a thing on LinkedIn the other day about have everybody write based on what it is that you were trying to accomplish for the person. Mm-hmm. So like social media manager might be, and this is not a good one, but I get people attention.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right? Yeah.
Or like, telling your brand story through social platforms, something along those lines, not just social media manager. So here I am picking on myself. I need to put that tip in my back pocket. But yeah, so that's kind of the first step. You have your name and then your profile photo, and that title is going to be kind of the first thing that's showing up on everybody's feeds before they even click into your profile.
So is there any tips? Are you going to talk about profile photos?
Yep,
okay.
next.
All right. Nice. All right.
So then you have your profile photo, and you want to have one. Aunt Ellen and Dad, you want to have a photo, and you want it to be updated. You don't want it to be that 20-year-old headshot. Right. And you want it to be a professional-esque photo. You don't necessarily want it to be a selfie. But that photo, like I said, is going to be that first thing that people are seeing as they're scrolling through their feeds. There's also been a new trick to where you can put a colored circle around your photo so that it truly is sticking out amongst everybody else's as you're scrolling through your feed. And so
was that for all, or is it the ones that, like, I know the little banners, right?
So they have the banners, and that's, I think, open to work or stuff like that. So you can definitely add a banner, but this is more of a process of putting your photo either in Canva or in Photoshop and just adding it to the actual photo.
Okay.
But like right here, it would just be purple or red. And as you're scrolling, it's like, why does that person have color around theirs? And then they click into your profile, and then that also leads to the header image. Not everybody has a header image, and I would say it's not, as important. But if you have an interesting or a clean header image, whether it be a company logo or just something interesting, that just adds life to your profile. It's also one of the first things people are going to see once they click into your page.
So you said like company logo. What else could be?
So I'm thinking we've had people do, and like if it's your company, you can a team, like photo of your team, photo of your people, photo of your office. For yourself personally, I've actually seen that LinkedIn provides a bunch of really cool, fun graphics that you can choose from. Or if you just wanted to color block and just do a fun color, just make it something other than the you don't have a photo here graphic that LinkedIn automatically provides you if you don't have something in there.
Okay, nice. All right, cool. So that's tip number 2?
Yep.
All right,
tip number 2.
Tip number 1 is that I need to have an interesting title, so something headline-ish that makes me want to click. And number 2, it sounds a lot like a news article, right? Like, hey, something I want to click on and a picture that's going to make me click. Have you noticed on Netflix too, they'll change the pictures up so that
they do.
Yeah, and it makes you want to watch a movie which you didn't before.
Yep.
Because you're like, wait, okay, now I see what that.
And
might actually
then
be
I'll
about.
see something and I'm like, I swore I've already seen this before. Like that title sounds so familiar, and then I'm like, I have already seen this. This is just a different photo.
Yeah, so switching it up every once in a while. So what's the third?
Number 3 is your portfolio, your skill set, and your experiences section. So you have a skills section where you're able to add in skills. This can range, like you can literally type in whatever, sales, Adobe, writing.
I make a mean lasagna.
Exactly. People really want to know that. That helps their business so much. No, but you can really add in anything. And then that's a place where the more skills you have, the more you're going to populate in searches. Like you were saying, if you're searching for a copywriter and this person has, blog writer, copywriter, they have a bunch of skills that can be attached to copywriting, they're going to populate and show up in that search more so than someone who doesn't have that section filled out as much.
Okay.
So skills and then your experience, that's kind of where you put your job experience, where you've been for how many years, et cetera, et cetera. This is a place where it'll actually connect. So right now, I am at Liger, and it'll tell me how many months and the position. And then, so since it's connected to Liger, now if somebody searches Liger, I will also populate, same as you. It connects you to your company, and then it's also allowing you to populate more if somebody's searching for that company on Google as well, because LinkedIn and Google have a very close connection.
They like each other.
They really like each other.
So like if I Google something, somebody's LinkedIn profile might show up for that.
Yeah.
Is it on the skill set too?
Yeah. So that's for the skill set. And so, yeah, Google and LinkedIn are very cohesive. So the more that you build out your stuff on LinkedIn, the more you could also populate into Google searches.
Probably because Google Plus didn't work.
Probably. Yeah.
I mean, they tried.
They tried. Yeah. It's all right. A for effort, I guess.
A for effort. That'll be like some kind of, MBA case study of some sort. Yeah, because Google did things, but Google Plus was a weird thing.
Yeah.
But I'm probably going to get erased from Google just because I talked about it.
Just because doxed from Google.
All right. Well, good. So those are the first 3 tips. So,
yes.
And you've got 3 more, right?
Yes, but I would like to elaborate on your featured section of your profile.
Got it.
So this is where you can truly highlight almost like a portfolio on your LinkedIn page. This is where if there's posts that you have posted, they've done really well, or you want more eyes to be seen on them, you can attach them to your featured section. You can add in links. You can add in outsourced portfolios. Like I think on mine, I have my website portfolio attached there. You can have newsletters, graphics, any of the work that you've done that you want to show off to other people.
Okay,
So that's
if you've
also
got, written articles or
yeah,
any of that kind
absolutely.
of stuff.
That's kind of your own personal portfolio on your page, and it's a really cool feature that's kind of like right in the middle of your profile section.
Is that also searched? Do you know?
I'm actually not sure if that's searchable. I think it would be because it's already it's on your profile. Some of them can be posts that you're essentially like starring to keep in this featured section. But I'm not sure about that. You got me there.
All right. Okay. Well, we're going to go to a commercial break, and when we get back, you've got 3 more.
Yep.
Yes. And so we'll come back, and I'll see if I can remember the first 3, which is always the test when we're together. It's like, but sometimes you give me 17 in the first segment, and I have to remember those. So
that's why I was like, I'm going to keep this one nice and easy.
Eric maybe do 6. Yeah, he might be able to do 6. So you're listening to The Claw. I'm Eric Holtzclaw, Chief Strategist at Liger Partners. I'm talking today with a repeat visitor, yes, Stella Huffman. She is responsible for our social media team, and she's talking today specifically about LinkedIn, which is an incredibly important platform in the B2B space. So we'll be back in just a minute.
Thanks so much for watching the Claw podcast. We'll be back after this short break.
When I first met the Unicorn Marketing Agency, everything was rainbows and, well, unicorns. They promised overnight marketing results for my business, leads my sales team couldn't keep up with. Once I signed up with them, they didn't even hold up any of their promises, even after months. And the only thing they gave me were excuses. After a while, communication with them became spotty and they were hard to get a hold of. Eventually, they stopped responding altogether. Overall, I lost a total of about $23,000 over a 4-month period. And I lost a lot of valuable time and energy.
And we're back. You're listening to The Claw. I'm Eric Holtzclaw, Chief Strategist at Liger Partners. I'm joined today by Stella Huffman in the studio. We are talking about social media. We're specifically focused on LinkedIn and what you should do in the LinkedIn world to make sure that you're kind of up to date. And LinkedIn isn't just about getting a job. It's about keeping up with people, staying connected to them. It's kind of interesting because, you can see how long you've been connected to someone. But we talked in the first session or first segment about 3 tips. So one of those tips is making sure that I have a good headline that I'm compelling and interesting to kind of look at, and it may not be that boring headline you probably already have on your LinkedIn profile, like what you do. It's like why it's important. I want to make sure I have a good photo and maybe header image, but at least a photo. Stella's dad and
my aunt.
Yeah, you're failing in that category. That needs to be fixed. And then I want to fill out the stuff below that of things that I've done, achievements, those, because those are all searchable. So I might show up in Google or otherwise because that's the first thing people do. And
only if you don't get doxxed from Google.
Yeah, which I might. I may have made a derogatory comment in the first segment, but we'll see. So yeah. So moving on. So what's the next thing? So I've got those things. Check. Done. I did them during the break.
So endorsements. There's a section of endorsements. This is where...
So those are still important.
Oh, yeah. Okay. So these are really important.
Okay.
The more endorsements that you have, the more you're going to show up in that search. The more that's you are credible, someone else is vouching for you on this skill. And the way that you're able to get endorsements is if you yourself go and give them to other people. So you can
give.
It is. It's one of those, you take in what you give out, and the more that you give out, the more likely someone else is to come in and endorse you for some skills. And then, of course, you can ask people to endorse. But endorsements are huge when it comes to searching on LinkedIn. And once again, it's kind of that credible factor of if you go onto someone's page and you see that they're endorsed in all these skills, then that's kind of that voucher of, okay, it's not just them saying that they can do this. Someone else is actually agreeing from experience that they can do X skill.
I didn't realize that those were still a thing because back when they first started, that was a big feature and whatever. And I do remember getting endorsed for things, and I was like, I don't know what that is. Like underwater basket weaving. I'm like, I don't think I've ever been underwater with a basket. But yeah,
You're going to show up in so many searches.
Okay. But a give thing. Okay. All right. That's not what I thought you were going to say for number 4. So I'm sort of surprised.
Yeah.
I've got other work to do after this is over. All right. So number 5?
Number 5 is customizing your URL. So there's a way for you to easily customize your URL. It makes it way easier for you to be searched, especially if you have a very common name like Will Smith or
Holtzclaw.
Or Holtzclaw. Exactly. I was going to say Eric, but you also need the last name too, and Holtzclaw is very not common. But this makes it way easier for you to find. It also makes it easier on a business card or something for you to go ahead and just put that URL in there. And you can make it whatever you want. So customizing your URL is something that's super easy, and it's really beneficial. Don't
you think it's funny that they don't? Because I've done that. I know that I've done that for mine, and I think I was like, to begin with, Eric 12345 765-4 blah blah blah. The fact that you need to take the extra step to customize it is kind of weird, don't you think?
It is kind of odd, and I think it's kind of like that same way with Facebook too. Like whenever you send your Facebook profile over, but it is weird, and I don't know if it's because people will change their name like in maybe. Just like the profile section, and then that's not connecting, but
maybe it's like a way to show if someone cares more about it.
They take the time to go in and create their custom URL, but a lot of people don't know that you're able to do that. So that's always kind of one of those tips where people are either like, oh, I thought that my URL was already custom when I made my profile or whatever. But yeah, you'll show up with the either like user 1, 2, 3 or Eric, whatever, like all the numbers. And so this is just a way to what you're sending people every time. It's easy to put on business cards, and it's just easy. Hey, find me at linkedin.com/Eric Holtzclaw, and then it's right there.
Yeah, and in my, because do networking events and meeting people, being connected with them on LinkedIn is far more interesting to me than knowing their email address, because like the chances or occasions we might email each other is going to be very specific, but being connected with them on LinkedIn, when you connected with them, more about like who they are, all that kind of stuff, because I will get an email across. I'm like, who's this person? I gotta like look them up on LinkedIn, because you don't remember when you talk to them or what they do, and LinkedIn kind of keeps you in that same space. What was interesting, you and I were talking a little bit about during the break, is we have a lot of customers who come to us who want to get press. And one of the first places, because I wrote for Inc. for 2 years, and if anyone ever reached out to me, I checked their LinkedIn profile. And if they weren't on LinkedIn, they weren't sharing content on LinkedIn, I did not write about them. Did not write about them. And so sometimes you think you're putting out something to the press and it's not successful because of the message. It's because they did their research and you're not interesting.
Exactly.
Like if you're not going to share it, if you're not going to talk about it, if you don't have anything out there that makes me know or think you're an expert, why am I going to write about you?
Exactly. And you said expert, and that's exactly, LinkedIn is there to make you the expert in the field, that whatever field that you're in, and it's the easiest way to do that.
Oh yeah, and a way to kind of show all of your, it's like almost showing somebody your resume, but like how often, like when you first meet somebody, you're like, hi, I'm such and such, here's my resume. Like you don't do that, right? Like here's my business card, but it's not necessarily that. So, okay. So what's number 6?
So number 6 is something that is, I think relatively new, but you can create a custom QR code. QR codes are everywhere nowadays, and you can do this on the mobile app feature.
So we know what caused QR codes to actually, because I wrote something about why QR codes like suck back in the day. Yeah, back in the day, I think one of my Inc. articles was about like the failure of QR codes.
Yeah.
And that was before the pandemic happened, right? Because then the pandemic happened, we didn't want to touch anything. Yep. So everybody my parents can use a QR code. Yep. That's crazy, right? So I didn't know
everything has a QR code.
Huh.
And it's only on the mobile app feature, but it's super easy. You can just click on your profile, and then it literally says like show QR code. And this is something that is super easy. I've seen some examples of people printing these on the back of their business card. So like just an easy scan.
Or just give them a business card with the QR code on it.
That's what, with the QR code on it. They have it on the back of their QR code. If you're at a trade show, if you're at any sort of event, you can just have it right there on your phone instead of pulling it out, typing the name, is this you? Like just scan the QR code. Here's my profile. It's a very easy way to connect with other people. And kind of like that custom URL, you're not going to go to the wrong person's profile. It's going directly to your profile.
Yeah, because I'm surprised when I'll do a search how many people may have that same name.
Yeah.
You know, and you're like, is it the one I'm first, second, or third? And then they don't have a picture, or the picture's older, and you're not sure. So yeah, okay, all right, yeah. And so in the trends of LinkedIn, so what's interesting about LinkedIn is maybe 2 or 3 years ago, they felt like they were in a little trouble, right? Like they were kind of maybe on the way out, and they really did a good job of kind of turning the ship. I'm not sure. Yeah,
they definitely did. And like I said earlier, it almost to me like kind of turned into a Facebook-esque where you are sharing your life. You're being vulnerable there now. And there was like that argument a couple years ago of, is LinkedIn the place for telling about your personal life, or is it the place for business? And people are like, it's for both. Like, how am I, gonna know you as a true person if I only know the business side of you? I want to know, like, I want to trust you. I want to make sure you're a trustworthy person, and I want to know more about you and your hobbies and your skills and what you're doing, and not necessarily just the work that you do.
Yeah, and it is so commingled. Like, you'll notice almost every phone call that you get on, specifically if you don't know the person, what's the first thing you talk about? The weather. Almost everybody does. Pay attention. Next time you're on a call.
Yeah, I'm obviously not paying attention.
Yeah, everybody asks, oh, how's the weather today? Oh, it's
that is
cold
very
here.
true. Honestly, we were on a
Da-da-da-da.
client call earlier this month, and it was, is it still snowing in Atlanta?
Yeah, every single, because I'm on a ton of them, and like you'll notice, specifically if you don't know them, it's like, what part of the country are you from? Oh, is it cold there? It's hot today. Oh, the pollen is out, whatever.
You're so right.
Because we're trying to find some way of connecting that's not just like, let's start talking about business, right?
Very true.
And you don't have to ask them, how are you doing? Because they made it to the phone call, right? Like, you hope they're not sick on the call. But that gives us that kind of beginning connection. And then it may be, well, what are you doing this weekend? Or like the March Madness is going on, or stuff like that, So that feels like, in this, making sure that you're giving somebody something more than what you do.
Exactly.
Because it is all so, specifically in the world we're in now, commingled.
Yes, absolutely.
Do you have any advice though on, and maybe that's part 2, because I know you're doing like the LinkedIn, series and stuff, but like sharing, like what should I share, not share? Are there any rules in that category?
So you absolutely want to share a bunch of content on your page. You want to share stuff that's coming directly from you, as well as you can share whether it's the company you work for, your friends, other content that they are posting. We have the LinkedIn algorithm is something that if you can beat it, like, wow, you deserve a trophy. It is constantly changing. It's one of those algorithms that's just super confusing. So we have found that if there's content that you want to share, if you actually save the photo or the video or whatever it is, and you post it yourself, you can copy and paste and like give credit to whoever it came from. If you share it yourself versus clicking the share button, it's going to do better. It's going to get to a lot more people's eyes, because LinkedIn was made as a platform for you. They want people to share content versus people sharing other people's content. So the algorithm is a little bit tricky, but you absolutely...
So it leans more towards original than amplification.
Original, that's the perfect word I was trying to think, and nothing came to my brain. Okay. So that's exactly...
A little pressure. You're
exactly.
Talking to a microphone.
Original content. Yeah. And if you are going and you're commenting and you're engaging with other people's posts, that, once again, the whole thing of social media is you kind of get back what you give out, and that is super huge. You want to go and you want to engage with other people's articles, with other people's posts, give interests. You see all the polls on LinkedIn nowadays, like maybe you participate in those and give a comment or a like. But LinkedIn really is tailored to that original content. So
and it's always reminded me a little bit of an online. It's like an online networking event.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Absolutely.
So there's people on there. You're talking to them. You're connecting the people who talk more, and there are some people on LinkedIn that you just love following. Right? 'Cause
Absolutely.
they say some of the most crazy stuff, or like they're okay to pick a fight, or
oh
whatever,
yeah,
you
you're
know.
here for the drama.
It's Ingrid's watching. It's its own housewives,
Yep.
right? It's the LinkedIn housewives and house husbands, right? So.
And I have found that LinkedIn is a great, like, you're connecting with people, and it's kind of like a Facebook. I mean, I look through my Facebook friends. I'm like, I have no idea who you are.
Oh, well, I love it when somebody
friends.
says, like, I noticed you're connected to such and such on LinkedIn. And I'm like, I have no idea.
But I feel like it's less weird on
Yeah.
LinkedIn, and people are more supportive. Like, we're hiring right now, and I posted an opportunity on my page, and someone who I have no idea was like, this is a great opportunity. And I'm like, thanks, girlfriend. Like, I know it is, but I don't know who you are. But, she decided to engage with my post. So then I'm more likely to go and check her profile out.
Well, I was on LinkedIn the other day, and somebody I barely know talked about Liger and tagged me. He's like, this
Wow.
reminded me a lot of Liger, agriculture. You should check it out or whatever. And I was like, I will. Who are you? Thanks so much. Let's have coffee sometime, right?
Exactly.
And so but you don't know. And what I find is specifically in the work that we do is because we share so regularly, people know who Liger is, they know who we are. When I meet somebody for the first time, they think they know me. They already know.
Oh, yeah.
They know stuff about us. They know who we are. They know what we do. Those kind of things. And that does a lot to pave the way of getting into whatever the relationship's going to be. Either,
Absolutely.
working with them as a client or hiring them to come to work for the company or any of those kind of things.
Exactly. Yeah. LinkedIn all around is definitely a platform that I have continued to just learn about and love learning about, because I feel like we talked about earlier, it has evolved into this being vulnerable mixed with business, keeping true connections. I feel like my connections on LinkedIn are more true than the random connections I have on my Facebook or other platforms. And so it's a great way to connect with others when it comes to business, as well as, maybe it's personal life now and you're connecting, and then it turns into some sort of opportunity later on down the road if you have some sort of career change or anything along those lines.
Yeah, cool. Well, I think so, because you seem to want to come back regularly. But, and some of these others, there's the kind of advanced tools like the Sales Navigator tool.
And that's what we're getting into our part two of next week. We're getting into that.
Perfect. So you'll have to come back and talk about that. And then also there's the one for finding people. So it's got some kind of back end pieces that allow it to be kind of like a CRM, but you still probably need a CRM.
Yeah.
But okay. And maybe ads, you can, this is a great targeting system.
Yeah, absolutely. We have a ton to talk about. So anytime you want to have the social team on here, we are here to talk to you, Eric.
All right, fun. It's always fun. So you've been listening to The Claw. It is the marketing podcast for C-suite executives. We've been talking about LinkedIn and the importance of LinkedIn, specifically in the B2B space. If you're not on LinkedIn and you're a C-suite marketing executive, then I don't know how you got your job. So make sure that you tune in next time and into The Claw. And thanks for joining us today.
Thank you so much for tuning in to the Claw Podcast. Don't forget to like and subscribe, rate and review this podcast. And if you or someone you know wants to make an appearance on this show, email us at yourbestie@ligerpartners.com.